I talked about this morning, 2 years ago, we were at a workshop and we had this crazy idea of kicking off this coral restoration consortium. And if it was not for Dr. Tali Vardi, who's going to be coming up next, we would have never even had that workshop. She called me up about 3 years ago and she goes, do you guys think maybe as a community we should try to get people together? It seems like, we need something more dedicated than that. And so at that point, we said, all right, let's do this little workshop. And we had that workshop, and coming out of that, we said, maybe we should try to make ourselves a little bit more organized, a little bit more official. And so we had this idea of this Coral Restoration Consortium. And I can tell you without a doubt that the consortium would not be what it is today without the hard work of Dr. Tali Vardi. She has become one of my closest colleagues and somebody that I know I can go to with anything that I need done or any idea. She provides a really great check and balance to me. And I just cannot thank her enough for what she's done to make the consortium a success. Tali's going to be talking with you guys now about the consortium, some of the amazing work that the individual working groups, many of you in this room, are doing. And I want to encourage you guys to think as you listen to some of the stuff that's being done, what else can we do? What's next? Can we join some of these groups? Do we need a different group? What is it? How do we continue to work together as a community to further advance this? So we're sharing things. We're not reinventing the wheel. So it brings me great pleasure to invite Dr. Tali Vardi to the stage. Tali's been with NOAA since 2012 and serves as a lead scientist in our Office of Science and Technology. And if you're lucky, last night when she had this microphone on, she was singing a great rendition of A Whole New World. So maybe she'll let you do that.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be up here and see so many people. Scott Winters, next time you come up, you should take another picture because there's more people here than when you took the picture. So I'm Tali Vardi, I'm from NOAA Fisheries, and actually before I get started talking about the consortium, I just want to take a minute and thank my supervisors at NOAA, Mridula Srinivasan and Steve Brown, who is sitting somewhere in this audience. I can't see because the lights are really bright. They have given me a ton of latitude to work on this, and it's been my great pleasure and honor to do that. So I'm just going to tell you a little origin story about where we came from. You guys heard about it a little bit from Tom and Scott already. This is us 2 years ago at that workshop in Fort Lauderdale, and like Tom said, we just wanted to get this community together. It was really a meeting of scientists and managers, a meeting of folks from the developing world, the developed world, new startup restoration outfits, as well as experienced ones. And there was a ton of sharing and really a ton of energy to keep the conversation going. And we didn't want to just meet once every 4 years at ICRS. And so we held this workshop, and it was the workshop to advance the science and practice of Caribbean coral restoration. We did have a focus on the Caribbean there. I think we had about 20 countries. And we came up with some recommendations from that workshop to increase the scale of restoration, promote reef scale monitoring. So the idea is to put a lot of corals out there and really save the ecosystem functioning of reef and the ecosystem services that reefs provide. We want to show that demonstrate that restoration works and show the world. We felt like we hadn't been doing a good enough job of that. Use genetics to improve restoration practices, and again, to continue communicating and collaborating. That was really the big thing that came out of that workshop, and that became the consortium. So, like good bureaucrats, we developed yet another bureaucratic structure. So we have a steering committee with 12 people who I'll show you in a minute. Those 4 priorities turned into 6 working groups that I'm going to go through in just a little bit of detail. We got an online collaboration platform. We developed a structure of meetings and check-ins and core groups and stakeholder groups, and that's been the consortium for the past couple of years. We're really actually looking forward to, I'm looking forward to this meeting. I think all of us are looking forward to this meeting to see if this structure is still working and what we can do to change it to bring us through the next couple of years with the urgency that we need to actually do this restoration. So this is our steering committee. These 12 people really got the consortium off the ground. Scott Winters and Tom Moore have been chairing it, but we wanted representation from NGOs, both US and foreign, also academic institutions. We have a private for-profit company, that's Andrew Ross, and we have 3 agencies, including the UN Environment Program. Everyone has played a huge role in bringing their perspective into getting this consortium up off the ground. It's been really amazing working with these people. It's also been a really close partnership with the Reef Resilience Network. We have pictured here Petra McGowan, Sherry Wagner, and Liz Shaver. They, right off the bat, they were interested in beefing up their restoration portion of the Reef Resilience Network at the same time as the consortium was really getting off the ground. And so it was a very natural collaboration. They also were willing to host our web presence, which we had no capacity to do. So that was a really nice fit. They've been hosting webinars. They curate a searchable journal database for coral restoration. And their whole reason of being is to translate science to managers. And the consortium's real mission is to get experts together and provide information out there to the community. And so it's been a really, really nice and tight collaboration with the Reef Resilience Network. Like I said, these priorities turned into our working groups, and so now I'm going to go through these working groups one by one. So like Tom said earlier, we're pretty good at doing restoration on a small scale. And the challenge really is to scale this up. And we broke that into the 3 primary methodologies that we kind of feel like are working now and might work into the future. So the real bread and butter of coral restoration, especially in the Caribbean, but actually throughout the world today, is using this field-based propagation. I don't think I need to do a big introduction here because Buki spoke a lot about this. I'll take a minute here and say it's such an honor to have just met Buki. I did my master's work with one of his students. My parents are from the same town that he's from, so I feel like these connections are already being made, and I'm really excited. So this group is being led up by Liz Gergen and Megan Johnson. Liz is a postdoc at NOAA, and Megan Johnson is from the National Park Service, and isn't here today because she's about to have a baby. And really the difference in methods here is all these shapes that are on this slide and what Buki showed you. But this group's main thing that they've been doing over the past year or so since the CRC has been getting off the ground is writing a best management practices document. And these documents are out there. They've been out there for years, but they're updating it and gathering a lot of information. So that will be debuted later today. Oh, here's the final slide showing we don't just grow corals, we also outplant them. That's the main idea. That best management practices is still in a draft format, but it will be, Liz will talk about it later today in the Nursing Nubbins session. And yesterday they held a really successful workshop on a hands-on training that I think a lot of you guys were at, hopefully learned a lot. So another method is land-based propagation, and Chris Page from Moat Marine Lab and Scott Graves from Florida Aquarium have been heading up this group. This group has also written a best practices document on optimizing land-based facilities. That's, again, still something that they're working on, but they've really gotten the ball going. These are 2 super experts in growing corals on land. The advantage of land-based propagation, I think, will come into play more and more as we delve into these next generation interventions. I think it will give managers some peace of mind to test some of the genetic interventions that folks are talking about in land-based facilities before they go out in the water. So this is a technique that is not going away, and this is a great group of people working on it. There's been collaboration with Jamie Craggs at the Horniman Museum, getting corals to spawn in these land-based facilities. I know something similar is happening at this National Sea Simulator in Australia as well. And these folks will be talking in the Size Matters, that's sort of the micro-fragging session, and the Spawning a Future session on Wednesday. Larval propagation is the third of the scale-up working groups, and this has been expertly led by Val at Secor and Anya at UNAM in Mexico. Larval propagation is really the way to capture the genetic diversity naturally from the corals when they do their mass spawning, and to help corals a little bit through that post-settlement bottleneck. That's really the research struggle for this group, and they've got a wonderful group of people really collaborating, aligning research across different institutions and comparing notes. They have spawning observations from all these places with the yellow pins, and they've started a database to really narrow down the window of when do these corals spawn, how can we do research on them faster, better, and more efficiently, and in more places to really up this research as we need to do. And again, this is tomorrow. There's a Spawning a Future session, and if you're interested in this group, there will be a core group meeting afterwards. So if you haven't gotten involved and you're interested in getting involved, see Margaret Miller. She is representing this group here at this conference, because both of the chairs could not make it, unfortunately. So monitoring, we don't want to just scale up and throw a bunch of corals out onto the reef and then walk away and hope for the best. We want to check up on them, measure our progress, and see that the reef is really being built. So Stephanie Schottmeyer, Shay Veman, Patricia Kramer, Allison Molding all have been amazing, doing a ton of work on this, as they are also drafting a best management practices on monitoring. And what we realized when we started this group is that we actually had no idea where people were doing outplanting, where the nurseries were. When we met 2 years ago in Fort Lauderdale, everyone was like, wow, I had no idea this many people were doing this stuff. And we realized we needed a central repository. So they built this beautiful database that's shown on this map and started populating it. Again, most of this stuff right now is really Caribbean-based, but it's a prototype that will be made global. Hopefully some of that work will be done here this week. And Stephanie really led the charge on this self-evaluation tool for people who are building their own nurseries or doing their own restorations to sort of check up, am I doing things properly, where can I do better? That's this kind of traffic stoplight colored tool, and that will be debuted later today at the Monitoring Technology and Tools session. And tomorrow there will be an interactive workshop where you get to actually put in your data or try these tools and give these folks feedback to say if these tools are actually useful for you or what could make them more useful. So please come to those if you are interested. The last of the working groups was really to, sorry, not the last, second to last, to demonstrate and communicate that restoration works. And Christina Malika, one of the amazing interns at CRF that I'm getting to know this week and getting to love, created this beautiful story map. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you here because it requires going to the internet, but we will have it live, hopefully on Wednesday on a computer. This group really chose 4 success stories, 4 places where we really felt like restoration had worked. There was something to show for it. Carey's Fort Reef here in Florida Keys, a site in Belize, Bonaire, and Grenada. Each one has sort of a different twist, and this will be on our website soon, and it really is kind of like a one-stop shop. What is restoration, and how does it look when it's successful? And I just couldn't leave out the shining example of restoration in Belize. Lisa Karn will be talking about this tomorrow morning, but this is one of the things that we wanted to demonstrate in this working group, and this is sort of a sample of what's in the story map. These time series, I think a picture tells 1,000 words. Lisa planted some corals only one time, not 2 times. I wonder what it would be if it was 2 times. I'm sure she'll show us some examples tomorrow. And you can just see these things are growing and forming habitat. And this is what happens when you go there and restore a reef, right? So these are the stories that we need to tell. We need to tell them better, and this is the work of this working group. We also worked together with a monitoring working group to develop success metrics so that when we're doing this restoration now and in years to come, we can kind of gauge ourselves, is this a successful story or not? And I'm not going to go into the genetics working group because Ileana is going to talk about that after the break, but they've been amazing and done a ton of work that you're going to hear about. And just a few recent accomplishments. We also are starting a management working group that's actually being launched here tomorrow during a lunch session and a little bit after the lunch. So if you are a manager or if you're interested in management, please do attend. This group is just kind of forming itself and trying to figure out what its objectives are, et cetera. But these three individuals, Liz Shaver from Reef Resilience, Jen Koss, the director of NOAA's Coral Program, and Paul Marshall from Reef Ecologic in Australia, are getting this group off the ground. They've already done a ton of work on developing a decision tool for managers that has been talked about yesterday at a workshop. So see them if you're interested, and come to this meeting tomorrow if you're interested. And the other recent accomplishment is we've become a topic chapter, the first of its kind topic chapter of the International Society for Reef Studies, which I learned is now going to be called the International Coral Reef Society. And this is something that Ruth Gates was really passionate about doing, and we couldn't be more pleased to be part of this academic society. So that's just kind of gotten off the ground recently. And next steps for the consortium. So the first thing is to get through this week. And not only get through it, though, to really learn from everyone and to try and really be at 5 places at once during these concurrent sessions and get as much as we can out of this amazing group of people here to really figure out what we need to do to move forward. What is the best use of this collaboration network? Is it raising money? Is it just talking to each other more? Is it messaging? There's so many different ways that we could go, and so I really hope that you guys kind of give us feedback on what you think, join a working group, etc. So the real next step, though, is to go global. We've been very Caribbean focused, and we have made some inroads into growing globally, but that will really be our next challenge. The picture on the left is the map that we brought to the meeting 2 years ago of the Caribbean, and we asked people to put Post-its and say where they're from and where they do their work. And you'll see outside there is the map on the right, which you might recognize as our Earth. And there's an activity to put stickers on that and do something similar, so we get a sense of which 40 countries it is that are here and what folks are doing, and start developing those relationships. Oh, my slide got a little bit weird, but the last one is to develop strong messaging. We had a meeting yesterday where we really recognized there's a need for strong messaging and to try and kind of identify some audiences, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that. And I think strong messaging on coral reef conservation and restoration is something that the consortium is really passionate about doing and is committed to doing in the next couple of years. So before I end, I just want to thank the chairs of the CRC working groups. These are the real heroes of the Coral Restoration Consortium. These people took all of their existing responsibilities and added one more, and that was to develop objectives for their working groups, figure out when to meet and who to meet with, get groups of people together, and they held themselves accountable to doing that and have just done a lot of work. And so we wanted to thank you guys, so please come up onto the stage. I asked you all to sit up close, so you guys can come up in an orderly or an unorderly fashion as you choose. And Scott Winters and Jessica Levy, this includes you guys too, because without your help, none of this would happen. These are the executive secretariat, we call them, of the CRC is Jessica Levy and Scott Winters from CRF. So thank you, guys. commissioned this original artwork of an Orbicella spawning. Much as you have given life to the CRC, this coral is giving life to a new reef. So please join me, everyone, in thanking these guys. Yay! And that's it.
I just want to echo as well my thanks to these guys. As I said in the beginning, the consortium is only what it is because of the people that are part of the individual working groups and the people that are doing that, and really want to just encourage you guys to, think about how you can get involved, how you can share your knowledge. We are never going to succeed as a community unless we work together, collaborate closely. Don't just wait to learn when we come to conferences like this, but literally be learning all the time. And so we couldn't do that without these guys. So I thank you guys very much for that.
Yay!